So to begin, I want to begin with three questions. Anytime that I'm working with one of my fellows, one of my students, one of my players, I'm going to begin with asking three questions, and it's pretty much all of these three. We're trying to understand what has happened. What's the history of what this pitcher has been doing? So we always begin with whose mechanics are these? I mean, are they his natural mechanics, or is it something that's been forced on him by other coaches, instructors, and yes, even dads and granddads? So again, we talked a little bit yesterday. It is very difficult to copy, duplicate, replicate, repeat, um, writing our name, let alone repeating a process that has hundreds of thousands of firings and sequencing, muscular sequencings, and all of that from the neurology. But you know, most coaches, parents, we never look at pitching in this way. And for some reason, like the laws of motor learning do not apply to pitching. So if you're not attempting to do the impossible, we might be able to get some throwing going on. But as coaches, we tend to want our kids to do the impossible. So the first question I'm asking, whose mechanics are these? And some of the better players that we've ever had, they've never taken a lesson in their life. So, second question: Why is a pitcher struggling to learn more from their legs, to get more from their legs, to have power from their legs, to learn how to use their legs? And so the question is, are you struggling to get more from your legs? And more often than not, a player has been taught to falsely load their hips, and I would say 9 out of 10 times, loading your hips is a recipe for stressful mechanics that would run up the chain, leading to, and the chain there is the kinetic chain, but leading to some elbow issues, some knee issues, some shoulder issues. So, not to mention, all of that low velocity and such. So, and typically, the problem's not with the lower half, even though it may look that way. So if you go even further, probably the first issue that we're going to check on is going to end up being the feet. So how the feet move. And typically the feet will travel from foot to foot. So that's what we start to look at in that regard. So, and the good side of this is that fixing feet, that's pretty quick. It doesn't take 10,000 hours to do it. In fact, most of the lower half problems can be fixed in a day. And we do that all the time, understanding our way mores, understanding how to lead with the back hip, understanding the move, and riding the mound. So, and that typically cleans it up pretty quick. So if the pitcher can't use their lower half, you're going to find like your velo is stuck. You're unable to get forward. You might end up having a sore arm, and probably, it's the hips that are causing the sore arm. And nowadays we're told to rest, and that's probably not the recipe for that. Again, I'm a contrarian, so I want to throw a lot, not necessarily off of a mound, not necessarily under supervision. I just want to throw. I just want to throw baseballs. Okay, so the third question then, what's hurting our pitchers more than helping them? What are they doing? And believe it or not, more often than not, they're doing pitching drills. Again, traditionally, the lower body drills actually teach pitchers how not to use their hips. So that's a pretty much a mechanical killer. So by far, the number one issue that I'll see is that the velocity is stuck, and it always comes down to just flat out overthinking mechanics. I have to be in this position. I have to be in that position. Whatever it is. And believe it or not, there is little feel for what is occurring within the body. And when we talk about that here, that idea of feel and awareness just is number one. It takes the thinking out of any of the equation. It lets our pitchers focus on attention externally, getting outside of their head, and allows their body to make its own changes so that it works with their physical structure. So I could tell you a little bit more about that, but I want to save that for another day. So uh, again, um, you know, what we have I want to end this section with, because I want to get into velocity checkpoints, your actionable points for the day. But I'll end with this. So a lot of pitchers are so close to reaching their potential, but they're struggling to get there because they're just being coached on every throw and being forced to have some command given to them that just creates more confusion. The closer they get, the more external feedback they're getting from us as coaches, that it affects what they're about to do. So it's going to make or break them. So we're asking them to do the same things over and over again. The real secret is inside their daily routine. It's what makes or breaks them. It's what makes or breaks their velocity. It's what makes or breaks their so-called air quotes. That I have air quotes that I'm using right now, folks. Air quotes mechanics, and it's going to affect their ability to transfer the results from practice to the game mound. So it's sort of crazy how difficult and complex that we've made this. But in all honesty, it really isn't that. So as we get going, I want to pull this up. So I thought I'd take a couple of minutes and start looking at our actionable checkpoints. And I have 3 of those checkpoints. So the first one is the breath. And if you can't breathe effectively, we're going to have a hard time moving efficiently. Okay, I think in the West here we do a really bad job of breathing, especially when it comes to our athletic performance. So breathing can be a skill. It's a learned skill. It allows us to turn off movements, inhibits, versus turning on movements, activating. And that is probably the largest difference between expert movers and novice movers. So that ability to breathe. It's an invisible bridge between the mental and the physical game. And it keeps you in the present moment. It relaxes you. And, the last time that I checked, loose muscles are fast muscles. There is a state of tennis as such, but loose is good. So as we're looking here at the clip here, that's Coach Lance walking in. Hopefully we'll see Coach Lance in the near future. And I've learned quite a bit through him. And as we look at this clip here, this is just an individual just looking to separate upper and lower, being able to turn the hips without moving the shoulders. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. So try rotating only your hips. Have your pitcher just try rotating while preventing his shoulders from turning. So that checkpoint number 1 on that one. So the second checkpoint would be your eyes. And your body is built to follow your eyes. So wherever you go, your body is sure to follow. In fact, it's your eyes are public enemy number 1 when it comes to your hips and lower body. And there's a lot of times in the building, especially with younger players, they aren't even aware of where the target is. So what we want to make sure is that we're anchoring our eyes. And at the same time, I want to anchor the feet. So the key to ground force production is based on your ability to stabilize your feet to the ground. Okay, getting your feet into the ground, the key to connecting your whole foot. And it's not just the heel. Okay, whenever the weight shifts to the ball of your foot, then you activate the quads out front. And by activating the quads out front, we start getting into triple extension that we talked about yesterday. And what will happen is you end up pushing the lower half. That's the false hip load. And that's going to prevent any chance for your hips and shoulders to separate, because what happens is it all gets connected, because the extension of the hip forces the upper body to turn. So it's going to turn a little bit out of sequence and a little bit early. Whenever the weight gets shifted to the heel, you're preventing your back hip from rotating and getting forward. And when that happens, what you'll see is you'll see pitchers with their front knee, their front hip just swings wide open right out of the gate. And when that happens, you start seeing high elbows, the infamous inverted W's that everybody talks about. And what happens is, if we start looking at our feet, it starts to clean up almost immediately. And I believe it was Dr. Sills who says, hey, everything moves through the middle, that the kinetic chain begins in the middle. And everything has to happen there. So, ground energy, ground force energies, they don't begin with your feet. They actually start with the middle of your body and emanate down through your legs, and then they get pushed back up. That's the Newton's third law of motion. So we talk about that. So again, as everything happens, everything crosses through the middle of your body. And if you can't control that middle, if we can't turn that middle over, we're going to have a hard time. And, you're only as strong as the weakest link. All roads will cross through the center. So hopefully we're starting to think of the hips in a different manner. And I have to be honest with you here, gang. I just not quite sure what I have on the next slide. So I'm going to flip over through there and see what we have. And we may not have anything, for all I know. I sort of forgot. No, we're just talking about that kinetic chain. I forgot about that. So there's our graphic of the day. So when we look at it, let me get back over here and I'll let you see. Hopefully we can let you see what that says. So when we're in that kinetic chain, the inefficiency, and this is starting from the feet, working its way up, we'll see a 20% loss of energy by the trunk and the hips. And if there is a 20% loss of that, that would require a 34% increase in shoulder internal rotation velocity, getting your shoulder to internally rotate. So that would require a 34% increase just to get the same velocity output, and that just isn't going to happen. So that's where we're at here for today. I don't think I have anything coming off the backside of that. I'm going to let you know. If we go to a black slide here, I'll come up real fast. That is it. That's our last slide of the day. I wanted to stop there again. So I'm going to ask the three questions, just trying to figure things out. The first three velocity checkpoints I'm going to look for. Are they breathing? And I can start there. That's your actionable effort. That was just a piece of PVC. We have that here all the time. So we're trying to just rotate the hips without turning the shoulders. And you'll find out that if you are straight-legged, or that if you have pushed off of that, it's going to be very difficult. So that sets up where we're headed. And then I think what I need to do is just to input that, edit that. I'm not trying to find the right words. So we're just going to get that in for the next session, I think, on pitching. And that will be, the three moves, how we begin to work with those. Okay. So that's all for today. Everybody have a good day. If you have any questions, again, please let them off. I don't think I finished that. So, we want to ask our pitchers the three questions. Whose mechanics? Boy, I've got to get back to all my notes here. Whose mechanics are they? Why, are you using the lower half? Can you get to the lower half? And what is the pitcher doing on his own time that's hurting him more than helping him? And, so we're trying to find that out. We're looking at their specific drill work, their specific routine that they're using right now. And then when we come back in, we're looking at our three checkpoints: are breathing, We're looking to see if they're anchoring their eyes and anchoring their eyes on a specific target. And are their feet anchored? Are their feet into the ground, the whole foot into the ground, not just the ball of the foot, not just the heel, but the whole foot. And a lot of times, what I'll do is to help them get the feel of that, I'll just lift up their foot and I'll just take a baseball and I'll tap them on the bottom of the foot, right in the middle, as though that's a spike, and that just gets stuck right down into the ground. And another tip would be take your shoes and socks off and just go barefooted. Okay, just to get a real good sense of what's going on. And having said that aspect of it, wow, ankle mobilities. Okay, so we're going to look for ankle mobilities and work on the flexibility, strength, and mobility of our ankles. All right, now that's it for the day. Hey, I'll see everybody back here tomorrow for, I think I need to insert part 2 of this. Okay, so we'll do that part again tomorrow, and we'll come back. We'll do the same. We'll do pitching for the third day. I know at the outset I said 2 days of hitting, 2 days of pitching. Well, this one is just loaded so much that we want to get back there. So the actionable ideas today is your PVC pipe behind the shoulders, seeing if I can turn my hips. Are my eyes anchored? Are my feet anchored? I got to understand those first. I need those answers. Without them, I can't move on. All right, everybody have a good day. Talk to you soon.